Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Now, I'm really excited about today's episode because we are talking about Pinterest. And Pinterest, I actually don't think we have an entire episode dedicated to this platform. And, Pinterest has always been interesting to me because of its search engine capabilities. But we are such believers in master one platform and get to the next. And we've kind of gone Facebook, Instagram, we're focusing on LinkedIn right now, but Pinterest is actually next up. And we're starting to explore Pinterest. And the more I learn about it, the more excited I get. So if you're a spa owner and in the past year, you have jumped on that e-com bandwagon, right? There's been a lot of spa owners, estheticians who in the past year said, hey, I've got to get this additional stream of revenue going up in my business. Pinterest is going to be very interesting. This episode is going to be very interesting for you. If you've been on the e-com bandwagon for a while, then give yourself a nice pat on the back because you're doing awesome. But this episode will also be extra interesting for you because you can look at new ways to market your business, to get your products in front of new potential buyers. And Pinterest, especially in the past year, has made some pretty significant upgrades when it comes to their shopping capabilities. Now, you couple that again with the fact that Pinterest is a search engine, and it just really becomes a lot more interesting. So as I said, here at Addo Aesthetics, we're starting to explore Pinterest a bit more. It's really something that we're talking about on a pretty regular basis. We've got our social media manager taking some Pinterest courses, going through learning, so we can really understand the full capability of this platform. But we are by no means experts as of yet to the ins and outs of this platform. We are far from it. But my guest, on the other hand, she lives and breathes Pinterest for business owners, and she just provides a ton of value for spa owners in this episode. So I'm interviewing Kate All. She's the owner and founder of Simple Pin Media and the host of the Simple Pin podcast. She teaches entrepreneurs, product sellers, and bloggers how to find and convert their perfect person on Pinterest. So for the spa owners out there, for those of you who are like, ooh, this has piqued my interest, grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes. Kate gives some wonderful tips in this episode, and I'm sure it's going to spark some ideas for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play that interview. All right, Kate, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. So happy, so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so I know Pinterest is something that I'm getting more and more interested in. It's always been one of those things for me where it was like, yes, we know YouTube and Pinterest are search engines, and so they're important for that matter. But now with COVID, with so many spa owners shifting into a place where they're focusing on e-com and how can we bring our companies virtual and how can we get traffic to our Shopify stores, Pinterest is really a really interesting option. So tell me, well, I guess I'm just jumping right to the meat.
Let's do it.
But give me just in like the nutshell version, what got you into Pinterest in the first place? Like, what do you love about it? How did that become your like entire business focus?
Right. So I love that I find it one of the simplest platforms to really market on because they keep it much more simplistic in the way that the algorithm is going. And I got into it because Facebook had changed the way they were showing business pages to people. Mm-hmm. And so I was currently working with somebody who had an online blog and we were trying to get a ton of traffic from Facebook. And that was 2013. And everybody had their Facebook reach just cut in half like overnight. And so they were really looking for another place to go, but they were looking to Pinterest saying, this is really new. I've only used it personally. I can't figure out how to make the leap from personal to marketer. And I need somebody to help me do that. And so I started working with clients to help them figure out how to do it because they were just so busy. They didn't want to take on one more thing. They didn't want to figure out another platform. And granted, at the time, there was only like 3, whereas now there's like 10. So that's how I got into it. And I realized I love Pinterest because it's the introverts platform. It's not loud. It's not noisy. There's not all this conversation. And it very much is a search and discovery platform, not social media. So we see it like Google. We see it like YouTube. Pinners have an intent to get what they want, how they want it, where they want it. And they're really only interested in their world. They're not interested in the Instagram type of influencer world.
So, okay. So you said that, and I love that you said it's the introverts platform. It's so funny because my husband is a big fat introvert and he loves baking and he'll find different things on Pinterest. And I'm like, what are you doing? You don't even use social media. And he's on Pinterest.
Because it doesn't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's not these like train wreck, comment threads where you like, we're just, watching it happen. It's just really, well, I have an intent on what I'm looking for. And I just get to see the image as opposed to on Google where you just see a lot of text. On Pinterest, you get to see the image and the image helps you know right away what it is and what path it's going to lead you down.
Okay. So let's talk about this new focus towards towards shopping in general with Pinterest, because, I'm realizing as I said this, like when I think of Pinterest, I think of like making crafty school lunches for my kids and finding recipes and DIY, like designer types of things. How are businesses, what is this new focus on shopping? And just like you were saying, how do we use this to market and drive traffic to our businesses?
Yeah. So one of the things Pinterest has realized is that they are the great originator of ideas. It's where people go to plan 6-8 months in advance of when they're going to actually make a purchase. And so they saw this and realized, how do we move that back to help people purchase sooner? They're not going to do the integration on the platform. So the checkout would still be on the person's website, but they want to be able to show people like, this is a product that you can purchase and you can purchase it now. And so over the last year, as Pinterest has exploded in user growth, they've realized that they need to tap into this because they want people to take action while they're dreaming, while they're thinking, and be a little bit more spontaneous. And up until this point, it hasn't really been easy to figure out what is just an article, what's a product pin, what is just a tutorial. So this really helps distinguish through what's a product pin, what's a regular pin. And they also introduced what's called the Verified Merchant Program back in July. So this is a program where you can upload your catalog of products that you have. You get this shop tab and that refreshes every single day with new pricing and new listings. So you never have to worry about if something's out of stock in your shop tab because the catalog will always refresh.
So is this something that integrates with like a Shopify or like any type of e-com site? So it's connecting with that to be a verified purchase?
Yes, correct. Their first and primary integration is Shopify, and you get like a little blue check mark when you get approved for the Verified Merchant Program. I will say it's been really clunky the last 6 months. People have had a hard time with it. The tech is not worked out. So adding the Shopify app and integration, if you are on Shopify, is one of the quickest ways to do it. But you can upload your catalog if you're on another shopping platform.
Okay. And so then let's just talk about the strategy with e-com in general. So estheticians are typically selling skincare, but there are like devices, tools, sometimes there's stone rollers, there's tweezers, there's, those like silk pillows for your eyes. There's all kinds of other dry brushes, et cetera, right? Like self-care, wellness, skincare, but predominantly skincare. So is the strategy to have a podcast, have a blog, have some type of content creation that you're writing about that specific product? Or is it more like how we see on Instagram? We're seeing photographs of the actual skincare product with the shop now button.
So it's twofold. We tell people who are product sellers, especially those in the skincare area, they have to talk about the benefits. And that's what pinners are going to look for first. They're going to search how to get rid of dry skin, how to get rid of frizzy hair, best brush for frizzy hair, or best tweezer. They're in that realm and they're not associated with a brand or specific product. They may search more specific like vegan skincare or animal cruelty free or what. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So when we tell people who are selling products, in fact, we have one client who does skincare, we have a twofold strategy. Number one, you can definitely show the product in your image, but you want to have text on that image that sells the benefit. Because I can look at a serum and I don't really know what that does for me. And pinners only engage with the image. They don't read below. Whereas on Instagram, they'll read below a little bit more about it to get more context. Pinners won't do that. So it's like billboard advertising. You have your image that's going to really have that poppy statement to say, what is the main benefit of this serum? Well, then you might also have a quick blog post that talks about how to choose the best under eye serum for you. And it's going to talk about those benefits. So both of those things will have a Pinterest image that can be linked back to both. So your entry points could be both the person going straight to the product or the person going straight to the blog post. We recommend having both for any product sellers because people on Pinterest want context. They want the benefits. And that's really what they're searching is, how do I solve this problem? And if your product solves a problem for them, that's what you need to talk about on Pinterest.
So I've heard before a strategy where people are creating, 4 or 5 different pin images for one blog post and then just pinning them in different places. Is that something that's still relevant that you would recommend for product sellers? Or is that just a totally different strategy?
Yeah, that strategy came about when Pinterest was saying, we want new content and every new image you put on the platform is new content. They've recently dialed that back and said, your image and your URL, that classifies as new content. So we tell people not to go super crazy with creating lots of different images. However, there are things you're going to have to test in the beginning to see what gets good engagement. So that means for a product, you might want to create 2 or 3 images just to see which one gets the most saves or clicks. And so there's other ways now that Pinterest has brought in video. Video is exploding on Pinterest too. And when it comes to product sellers, it can be showing the angles of the product or even the benefits, scrolling through some of that. So now we have diversification opportunities beyond a standard pin and a standard image. The other one is a story pin. Now, this is not like an Instagram story pin. It lives forever. People save it. It's simply a series of standard pins put together in a story where you can talk about your serum, maybe not even write a blog post, but you can talk about this in a series of 4 to 8 cards and tell people to go to your website to find more information. So instead of creating multiple images just for one product listing or one blog post, we tell people think about creating a diversification of those images in video and in story pin.
So where are you pinning all this stuff?
It's a great question.
You create the content. You're like, okay, I've got the blog, I've got the images, I've got the pins, the URL. But is this directly on I don't even know what the Pinterest, like
your profile,
homepage, your profile. Okay. Or I know they have like group pinning places. Like how does that all work for someone that's like in kindergarten when it comes to Pinterest?
Perfect. Okay. In kindergarten, Pinterest is you have a Pinterest profile and on there are boards. And these boards are places where you put your products or your content. And these boards should be only what it is that you talk about. So if you talk about skincare, keep it really clean to skincare. Keep it really clean for your brand. I should be able to come onto your profile and know exactly what it is that you do with your name, your business name, and then you can have 5 to 10 boards that talk about simple keywords, right? normal phrases that people would use. We stay away from like cute, this is amazing, or a lot of people have tried the trick of pinning their Instagram content to a board like Instagram favorites. We don't want to use that because how Pinterest works is they take the board name and they take the pin description and they go, oh, this is what this particular pin and board are about. So we joke that like Susie's our standard pinner. And let's say she pins something from the best skincare for 40-year-olds. Let's say it's that. And Pinterest then knows, oh, I'm going to take from this board and show Susie more because she's interested in it. And so these algorithms really worked on the keywords. So what that just basically means is whenever you put in a sentence or a board name, make it just a really naturally sounding sentence. Like you would send a text to somebody. I really love this under eye serum made by ... It's so amazing, whatever the benefits are. So you can pin your pin to a board, and then you can pin your pin again to another board a couple of weeks later. So that Pinterest has multiple places to go. Oh, this is skincare. This is under eye. This is for women. This is for men. It gives them a lot of keyword data to work with. It doesn't have to be super confusing or crazy, but the important part is that you're really just pinning to your boards to tell people, hey, here's what I'm about and here's what I sell.
Realistically, how much time does Pinterest and using this strategy take to get some traction? Like, I know all things take time. You've got to figure out and test. But once you have your brand, like you've got your messaging dialed in, you've got your, images, you have an idea, like what should you expect to see from Pinterest with X amount of time?
Yeah, if you're a new account, right now we're seeing some accounts do really well right away because Pinterest is so hungry for new content because it's had an explosion of users. So it's looking for new stuff to show to people. Then there's a little bit of a lull, and then it begins to take off again. We like to think of Pinterest as that slow burn over time. But what's great is that if you have a pin that gets picked up into the search feed and people save it, people click on it, that can bring you traffic for 2, 3, or 4 years. I'm still getting my traffic from one of my pins I pinned back in 2017, still brings me a lot of traffic, probably 1,000 sessions a month, and I don't do anything to it. That's the great benefit of Pinterest. So when we invest in it, we have to think of the time frame that you would invest in Google. You're tending a fire. You're continually giving the algorithm more information about the keywords, about your product, or about your content. And I would say, I always tell people, aim to spend about 2 hours a week, maybe about 3 hours a week in the beginning, because you're still learning how to create Pinterest images, kind of navigating the platform. That's just going to be, any new thing is going to take you time. Then after that, we tell people once a month at the beginning of the month, look at your numbers. Pinterest has analytics, your shop has analytics, and Google Analytics. And just look at it. Don't get out a spreadsheet or anything like that. And just see what did people click on? What did they like? What did they save? And then keep doing more of that. If you find that your eye serums, every single time you pin it or you make a story pin about it, it goes crazy. Keep following that path. It's like you're getting breadcrumbs along the way. Mm-hmm. But I tell people when you use Pinterest, it's a long game. So it doesn't feel very good. It's not like Instagram. You're not going to get likes and hearts or any of that, but you're going to get clicks. For comparison, my last month's traffic on Pinterest was 5,000 sessions in a month. And my Instagram, which we invest even more time into, was like 53. And so you want to look at the amount of traffic that is coming to your website, even if that number was Pinterest 500 and Instagram 53. You just have to evaluate like which one is really going to get you the customer that you want to purchase your product.
Mm. Now, tell me about Pinterest ads. What do you know about Pinterest ads?
Yeah, Pinterest ads are one of those things that I would say they're 2 to 3 years behind Facebook. And what we love about them is that on Facebook and Instagram, when you turn on an ad, then it turns off. Well, on Pinterest, when you turn on an ad and you turn it off, that pin still lives there. So that one pin of mine that I was talking about, we put money behind it every once in a while because it's still on Pinterest. I still get good engagement after I've turned it off because it's on the platform. One of the things we love about it is they have new types of campaigns that are looking specifically at conversion. And they're looking at what is the conversion that you want? How do we track it? How do we get in front of the right people? And so I love Pinterest ads because you can get so targeted. They are a little bit more expensive than what you would find on Instagram and Facebook, but they are very targeted at getting the click or getting brand awareness or getting video views. You can be very specific on what you want. You can do lookalike audiences. And we know that Pinterest is investing a lot of new, integrations over the next year to make those even better, especially for shop owners. So we love them. We run them for our clients who have specific physical products. And it's great because you know how much the physical product is. You know how much you can spend on capturing a customer. And so if you put those two together, then you can figure out what you want your ad cost to be.
Very cool. Okay. So what else does a physical product owner need to know before making a decision to get into Pinterest? Any question, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
What am I not asking?
Well, okay. Number one is you have to think about, are your people on Pinterest? Is the person who's going to buy your product already over there? So the first thing we tell you to do is either search your name over there and see if people have already saved your product. And then also go look at the type of product you're selling and to see if anybody else is marketing that product over there. That shows that you actually it's a viable platform of people who can purchase, right? Mm-hmm. So then after that, it's what do I want my branding to be, which you probably already have for the most part. It's just changing that to integrate. How do I create Pinterest images for this? Because Pinterest is the 2:3, it's not the square. So you're going to use Canva or whatever image creation program that you use. And then after that, it's really, how do I set my mind on who I'm going to connect with and how I'm going to connect with them on Pinterest? Because it's going to be different than the Instagram user. It's going to be even a little bit different than the Google searcher. So I would say that first step of just seeing if somebody's already searching your specific products or your brand, super important. And almost every single time we have somebody go do that, we find that somebody's already saving your products to their boards because Pinterest is the place. It's really one of the only places that you can save things that you want to revisit later. And so pinners they do that all the time naturally. Instead of using, the bookmarks bar on your computer, It helps you categorize the stuff that you really want to revisit.
Okay. So it sounds like this is a really, really interesting option for physical products, for spa owners that are wanting to purchase or wanting to sell physical products. What about driving traffic to your brick and mortar spa? Is it worth the time investment?
So I'm a little bit torn on that. So I will say that when it comes to local, Pinterest really is only good at that when it comes to promoted pins. So if you were going to go straight towards the ad route to targeting the zip code that you want to target to get in front of those searchers who are on Pinterest, that's one of the best methods for brick and mortar. But when it comes to organic, it's a little bit tougher because Pinterest is so national and now global that you don't really want to be showing up in front of somebody who's not even in your area. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, it's a little bit difficult. It's not like travel where somebody's searching a specific city for a specific things to do, right? So brick and mortar, I would say if you have a component to where I can purchase something online too, then yes, that would be good. But if you are only local brick and mortar, it's going to be a little tougher. And I would test out ads. I would create a profile, obviously, but I might even go deeper into ads first before I would even spend time in organic to see if I'm getting any hits on that. Because a lot of what we do with local brick and mortars, people go to Yelp or they go to Google reviews first because they want to know, is it a good spa? And am I going to get good service? pinners aren't in that mindset because they're 3 months out before they actually make a purchase. So that's just a little bit tougher to hit them in the moment. Somebody who's thinking of a massage probably wants to get it in, 1 to 2 weeks, or a facial in 1 to 2 weeks, not 3 months down the line.
Or like tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Or like me, I've called and been like, do you have any openings today?
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So tell our listeners where they can find you, follow you, stay in touch with you. I know you have a podcast, but like we'll link everything up, but what's the best way to stay in contact with you?
Really, it's simplepinmedia.com. That has every single resource under the sun for Pinterest. We have a lot of free resources, image guides, podcasts, blog posts. And then we do spend some time on Instagram too. So you can DM me any question you want. And we're just at simplepinmedia over there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great learning opportunity for me. Definitely going to check your site out. And just thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our audience.
Yep, absolutely. So, thanks.
If you want to keep this conversation going, please head over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group. We can talk all things Pinterest, answer your questions to the best of our ability, or send you to Kate. And we'll catch you on the next episode.